right. Call to meeting this order of the MPOJC Urbanized Area Policy Board, Wednesday, May 31st, 2017. Recognize alternates. We've got Lori Goodrich here for Jill Dodds for the City of Coralville, and we are missing a number of others. Just leave it at that. 1B, consider approval of the meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Janelle, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are good on that one. Set the next board meeting date, time, and location. July 12th is the date we've got down. Tentatively University Heights. Is that workable? I'm sure we'll have some vacation issues.
It is workable in the new community center of University Heights, One University Place.
Fantastic. It'll be nice
I
to see
want
that new
everyone to
facility.
visit it and see it.
Good.
So Louise, do we get there in the ground floor, you park between the buildings, or?
You go in the pretty much the same entrance, and when you drive in, the first right turn, and then go all the way down to the end, because we're the far east. We're the far east location.
Okay.
There'll be parking there.
Okay.
Yeah, we thought we'd give University
Yes.
Heights a chance to showcase their new facility, and if it works well, we might be able to work them into the normal rotation, and if not, we'll,
Okay.
we'll go with what works.
Good. Look forward to seeing it. Be good. All right. Number 2, public discussion of any item not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address us on anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3. 3A, public hearing and consideration of a resolution adopting the 2017 to 2045, which sounds like forever, MPOJC Long-Range Transportation Plan. Darian.
Hi, thanks, Susan. We are very pleased to announce that the Future Forward 2045 MPOJC Long-Range Transportation Plan final draft is complete. The plan, of course, is the culmination of a multi-year planning process that we engaged in which we involved citizens, municipal staff, and elected officials to help create a vision for the transportation network of the future till the year 2045, which is quite a ways down the road. That's about 30 years until we get there. The intent of this is to meet our federal guidelines, of course, but it's also to help provide transportation planning guidance for the metro area, especially in regards to the federal funds that we receive over the next 5 years. So this is a process that we undergo every 5 years. To give you a brief recap of the planning process, over the last 18 months, we've provided 4 formal presentations on the long-range plan to interested groups. We drafted 6 surveys, which received almost 4,000 responses, which is by far our biggest record in terms of involvement we've gotten from the community. We also had our first youth survey, so we were able to engage junior high kids and ask how they get around the community and how they'd like to get around the community to gain a better understanding really of how people move throughout the metro area now and how they would like to move in the future. We also hosted a series of 3 public workshops across the metro area in the spring of 2016 to elicit feedback on the proposed capital infrastructure projects and discuss public needs. We had about 100 people in attendance at those, which we were very happy about. We provided 9 presentations to this board and to the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee to keep you apprised of our progress and to also ask for input and guidance at certain points in the process. We maintained a website with our draft plan chapters, and we notified the public about input opportunities through our MPOJC news email subscriber list, through our public participation list, and through press releases that went out to local news agencies. We also provided status updates and notified the public of input opportunities through social media, which was new this go around. This wasn't as much in play, I would say, last 5 years ago when we did our last plan update. So we have an MPOJC Twitter handle, which we were able to post information about input opportunities. Our Facebook page, we were also able to reach out to the community using both of those. And I think those 2 tools are the reasons why we had so much input from the community, especially with our surveys. Because folks could take the survey, they could forward it out, they could share it with their friends, and I think it really made a big impact. So we were very happy to have the amount of feedback that we did. And speaking of feedback, we took all of that public input that we received, we used it to inform the plan, and we used it to help prioritize the proposed transportation infrastructure projects. Last but not least about the plan, I just wanted to mention that it was completely produced in-house, including all infographics, GIS mapping, layout, design, and content. And I think I mentioned this before, but it bears reiteration. We're very lucky to have Sarah Walls and Emily Bothell on staff, not only for their transportation planning expertise, but they have an incredible eye for design and design background in terms of mapping and in terms of layout, and taking it from a quote-unquote federal document to something that is really useful and user-friendly, and something that is a resource for the community, for everyone here on the board, and for the public at large, and for staff. So we're very lucky to have them on staff, and I think the end product looks really great. We're really proud of it. Since your last staff meeting, we have sent the plan to this board. We sent it to the Technical Advisory Committee. We sent a draft plan to the DOT, to the Federal Highway Administration, and we published the draft plan for public comment. We had it out for a 30-day public comment period. We did not get many comments from the public, which we sort of expected. We get a lot of feedback in the initial part of the process, which I think is probably where it's best served. But we did get some really thoughtful comments from the DOT and comments from communities here represented by this board, and those comments are reflected in the final draft. We also held an open house for the final draft, the final draft plan on May 11th. Coincident with the drafting of the plan, we've also been working on a side project that we do every time we do a plan update, and that is updating our long-range transportation plan travel demand model. So our model is something that we use very frequently in the metro area because we're growing, and there's always a need for review of infrastructure and how many cars do we expect to see on certain roadways and certain locations due to our growth. So we rely on it very, very heavily throughout our 5-year interim periods through our long-range planning processes. We use it to gain a better understanding of how traffic patterns and congestion and level of service might shift under various land use or roadway scenarios. And tonight, the policy board will consider adopting the 2045 travel demand model as part of the long-range plan update. And finally, I just want to thank the board for your input and guidance throughout the process. It's a very long planning process. It's 18 months to 2 years. And you were involved early and often in assisting us, especially with the establishment of a framework and guiding principles. That was a sort of a paradigm shift from our previous long-range plans. And we came to you and asked for input and guidance, and you helped us come up with something that I think really works for this metro area. And so we wanted to thank you for that. We also we brought to you at several different meetings the revision of the scoring criteria, which is really important, and it helps in the project prioritization process. So again, thank you so much for your input and for your comments as we've been publishing draft content. On May 23rd, just a week ago, the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee unanimously recommended approval of the plan and the travel demand updates. Today, we're asking the policy board to approve the adoption of the 2017 to 2045 MPOJC long-range transportation plan and the 2045 MPOJC travel demand model. The policy board adopted plan is due to the Federal Highway Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, and the DOT on June 1st, which is tomorrow. So, any comments or questions on the long-range plan?
I would just say thank you. I mean, this has been, I remember it 5 years ago and how much work and stuff that was, but this is modern. It's a much different plan. Not necessarily in the actual decision making, but just in the contextual. I mean, it's more comprehensive, it's more universal, it's more
Readable.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
The graphics.
It's just it's a much different plan, and it's so encouraging to see. And so I love the fact that people were giving feedback because they saw it on Facebook and whatnot. Because normally staff spends hundreds and hundreds of hours of doing this, and they get no feedback whatsoever, or barely any. And so at least it was. It doesn't surprise me that there wasn't any at the end. People weighed in early, but thank you all. It looks great.
Thank you. We enjoyed working on it.
I would just echo Janelle's comments. It's a lot of time and effort by staff, and I think the changes that we saw as you went through and we gave some feedback, and especially on some of the graphics and some of those things, it's just, yeah, it's a much more readable plan than what we've had in the past. It's a great improvement, so thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the committee at the moment? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the board for the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Need a resolution to adopt the 2017 to 2045 MPOJC Long Range Transportation Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dickens, second by Donahue. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. A lot of work. Good to see that going.
Susan, I wanted to just quickly echo how proud I am of staff. They did all the heavy lifting on this, and we've mentioned the 2012 plan. This plan is far better than the 2012 plan, although that received a lot of positive comments at the time. So again, I'm really proud of the work staff was able to do, and thus far from our federal partners, we've really heard nothing but positive comments. So I'm very pleased with it, and thanks to the board for all their help.
Yep.
So they'd like to leave now and go ride their bicycles.
That's right.
And you handle the rest of the meeting.
Darian has another one, though.
I do.
3B, consider a resolution approving the fiscal year 2018 MPOJC Transportation Planning Work Program.
Thanks
Darian?
again, Susan. Attached to your memo is a draft copy of the FY18 Transportation Planning Work Program for your review. And this work program includes all locally requested projects we've received from MPO member entities and our general projects and procedures as required by the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration. Besides being a federal requirement, we rely on this internally very heavily to help organize our data collection and manage our workflow and staff time throughout the year. So today we want to give the board an opportunity to review the document, weigh in on especially the scheduling of any projects for your communities. If you're aware of any internal deadlines that might conflict with how we've scheduled the workflow throughout the year, we'd be happy to make any accommodations. I also wanted to, of course, remind you that we do continue to take requests for additional projects that may come up throughout the year as time permits. Last week at the May 23rd meeting, the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee unanimously recommended approval of the work program as stated. They didn't have any concerns about the timeframes for any of the projects. So tonight we're looking for approval of the FY18 work program.
Do we have a motion to pass the resolution?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Donahue, seconded by Carberry. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thanks. 3C, Brad, consider a resolution reauthorizing the MPOJC as the designated recipient of Federal Transit Administration 5307 operating funds.
Yes, thanks. Brad Newman, Assistant Transportation Planner. Earlier this month, Iowa City Transit had their triennial review by FTA. One of the things they had recommended was for the MPO and the transit agencies, well, the MPO with the transit agencies, to update their authorizing resolutions that are in regard to the grant process, the 5307 grant process. The MPO plays a big role in that process. We assist the transit agencies, and we just needed to update these documents. They're from 2008, I believe. We have to get current with the administration there. So what you have is a resolution. The resolution identifies the transit agencies and the MPO's role in that process. And then there's also a letter from the board chair naming a specific person to perform those tasks. We do it that way, so if I don't do the tasks anymore and someone else does, we just change the letter and not the resolution. And then there's also an opinion of counsel, and that's from Eric Goers, who is an assistant attorney for Iowa City. He reviewed that for the MPO as well. TTAC recommended unanimously to approve these items. The one thing I do want to point out is it does not change the apportionment process for the 5307 funding. So,
you did that just for me.
Sorry, Dave.
Thank you.
So we're requesting approval of these letters for Susan to sign.
Do we have a motion?
I'll second.
Got a, thanks, as my brain goes. Moved by Ricketts, seconded by Dickens. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, got that one. Thank you. All right, 3D, consider approval of the draft fiscal year 2018 to 2021 MPOJC Transportation Improvement Program project list. Brad?
Yes. This is our annual transportation improvement program. Attached, you'll find it's the 2018 through 2021, 4 years TIP. I just wanted to run through a few things with you. And of course, it includes all federal and state transportation projects for both roads and transit. There's two different sections you'll see. There's the road section, and then there's a transit section individual. All projects that were not completed by 2017 will automatically roll over to 18. The projects they get removed when they get under contract with DOT. So not many of them came off the list, but we did remove a few. Back in March, you did approve 4 new projects through our Surface Transportation Block Grant funding. 2 of those projects are in your TIP. 2 will be in next year's TIP. And there's a reason. The money was for 21 and 22. Well, the TIP only goes up to 21. Iowa City's American Legion Road project was put in at 21, FY21, at the request of DOT, since they already had funding in 2020. So that allows them later on to get advanced construction authorization, so they can get it all done in 20 rather than split it up between 2 years. So since we did that, it did not allow enough money, because we only do about $3 million a year, or we can program $3 million a year. North Liberty's project had to go to 22 because of the larger amount they received. So then it came down to University Heights and Iowa City's other project on Benton Street. University Heights agreed to go to 22, so we appreciate that. So they will be in next year's TIP. Tiffin, we added a project that they received CMAQ funds or ICAP funds here in Iowa. So we had to add that project. That's the Highway 6 Park Road roundabout, so you'll find that in there. We did remove one of Tiffin's projects, and that was the Ireland Avenue Railroad to I-80 project. It was an illustrative project, and since there was no funding identified, it's still in the long-range plan. We just don't have it programmed in the TIP anymore. So when we pursue funding options for that project, we'll put that back in. You'll notice the transit TIP, a lot of that is buses. We're way behind on getting buses. A lot of our useful life on those buses is past. So they're older fleets, but we have to wait on the funding through the federal and state government, and it's a slow process. But you'll see all those buses that are eligible are programmed in the TIP. We also have summary sheets of the STBG and the TAP set-aside funding. It's just kind of a quick report on where those projects are at from 18 on through 22. You'll notice there's a carryover amount of about $500,000. We're trying to figure that out. We don't think it's all there, but there is a portion of it that is there. And I think what happens is we have funding targets that come in every year, and they change year to year. So when we go out 4 years, and then the next year they all change again, so we have to go back, and usually they go up. So there's usually a carryover. We're just trying to pin it down a little bit better as to how much we can comfortably give away. We don't want to program all 500,000. You'll notice the one target did go down, so we don't want to give away too much money and be in the negative. But I think in the next funding cycle in 2 years, we'll hopefully be able to add a little bit from that carryover. These projects, well, the draft TIP is due to the DOT June 15th, so we'll get that prepared and get that to them, and then this will come back as a final draft in July. TTAC did recommend unanimously in favor of the project list. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Brad? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Fromm, seconded by Donahue. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, pass that one as well. Other business. Got update from Coralville staff on significant community projects. Dan?
Thank you. Dan Holderness, Coralville City Engineer. So I'll give you a brief update on 3 different types of projects ongoing in the city of Coralville at this time. We have transportation projects, public infrastructure, and also flood mitigation projects ongoing now. So first for transportation, I'll talk about the First Avenue project. We're improving First Avenue from 6th Street to 9th Street. And that's the last section of First Avenue south of I-80 that has not been improved. We're going to the 5-lane section, 10-foot sidewalks on both sides, improved lighting, improved intersections. There'll be permanent signals at the First Avenue and 7th Street intersection. There'll also be permanent signals at the First Avenue and 6th Street intersection, as well as a new east leg of that intersection to make it a 4-lane intersection. So that will serve as the 4th entrance to the IRL development, High River Landing development in the future. We're currently, phase 1 of that project is ongoing. We're installing a duct bank. This is an underground duct bank for the private utility companies to relocate their facilities, either overhead existing or not in the correct place, underground existing, into the new duct bank, so that everything will be in the right place when the street project comes. We should have no utility conflicts, knock on wood. We'll see how this works. So that's ongoing now, and so you'll see single lane closures from Monday morning to Friday afternoon for the next few months, and that should be done September 1st. So that allows the utility companies the fall months to relocate their facilities into that duct bank and remove the other existing facilities. We're reviewing.
I'm having a hard time tracking that. You said there'll be a new entrance into Iowa River Landing?
Yes, at 6th Street, right by Deli Mart now. If you think of it now, it's a T intersection.
Right.
First Avenue, and then 6th Street goes to the west, to the left. And so that will become a 4-legged intersection, and so we'll add a new east leg to that, and so that will become a south entrance to the Iowa River Landing development.
So will it go near Mount Hayworth, or where's it going?
It will line up with East 2nd Avenue. If you think of that now where 30 Hop is. On 9th Street, that's East 2nd that goes from 30 Hop up to Von Mauer.
there.
Okay,
Not to the south, to the north. I'm
So
tracking
that will then
now.
come south and
Okay.
kind of tie in, make a curve and tie in back at First Avenue at
Okay.
6th Street. So we'll have, entrances at 6th, 7th, 9th, and the future Iowa River Landing Place entrance when the interchange is improved at I-80 and First Avenue.
Okay, I'm tracking now. Thank
Okay.
you.
That project, sorry, Dan, that project also has a little over $5 million of MPO funds that were apportioned 2 and 4 years ago. There's actually 2 rounds of funding, so I like to point out when the MPO's involved.
You bet. And so we're reviewing 60% road plans, 60% completed road construction plans for that now, and we're on schedule for a November 2017 DOT letting for then primary construction calendar 18 for that project. Second major project is on Coleridge Avenue, and we're improving from Oakdale to Forever Green Road, and it'll be much like the first phase we did from Holiday to Oakdale. And this last week, in fact, we let again a duct bank project for that, phase 1 of that project, and so we're going to install the underground duct bank, so and that will be from now until September 1st as well. And then the utilities will have the fall to move their facilities into that new duct bank. We're also reviewing 60% plans for that project, and we're anticipating a December 2017 local letting for that project, and that will be construction in calendar 18 as well. And that includes about $1.7 million of DOT funds that they helped. This hadn't been in our CIP at this point in time, but because of the DOT's desire to use Forever Green Road and Coleridge Avenue as a incident management route for the 8380 interchange improvements, once the 380 Forever Green Road interchange is done, so we had to advance this project to get our street project done before the interchange opened, so it could be again an incident management route. So that's going on next year as well. Third project is a little short-term project at Highway 6 and Jones Boulevard, West Clore Drive, where Tyson's is, and Hawkeye Harley, excuse me. We're putting traffic signals in there. Got some money from DOT to do that after July 1, so you'll see that happen in July and August of this year. As far as public infrastructure projects, we've started a couple months ago a major expansion at our water treatment plant, and that will double the filtration capacity of our plant. That's about a $4 million project and should be done in the fall of 2018. We're in the final design phases of a major project at our wastewater treatment plant, about $27 million project, and we anticipate bidding that this fall, and it'll take about 27 months to complete that project once we get underway.
And what population will those two expansions support?
They'll work up to mid-30s, 30,000s. So it'll double the capacity where we're at today in both facilities. So those are going to be ongoing soon as well. And lastly, I'll talk about flood mitigation projects. We're currently building what we call our Clear Creek South Flood Wall project. It's a combination of permanent and removable flood walls on the south side of Clear Creek from Highway 6 to First Avenue behind Monica's. That's been ongoing since last fall. We completed this fall. And then we're going to bid next week the Pump Station 6 and 7 improvements project. And that's the last major project on the 2008 flood mitigation reports that we received, how we need to flood protect the city to the 08 flood elevations. And so that got some funding through that National Resiliency funding. And that will be bid next week and will be done this fall as well. So by the end of 2017, we'll have all the major flood mitigation projects done that we anticipate doing. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have about those or any other projects.
Wastewater treatment plant, how much did you say again?
I think it's mid-30s, like 35,000.
Cost?
Oh, cost, I'm sorry, $27 million. $27 million.
Dan, Clear Creek Bicycle Trail, what are
Yes.
the plans for that?
We are working with the DOT on that. That's also got funding through what was SDP TAP funds at that point in time. And so the design is ongoing with that. As you might imagine, we're working with the DOT because it goes underneath the interstate bridges, and those are being rebuilt, obviously, in the near future. So that's a bit more of a challenge than we had anticipated. So the way it stands now is it should bid in October of this year and be built in 2018.
That's the most asked question, in case you want to know.
I was just going to
Of
ask
a
that.
county
Right.
supervisor, and we have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Other than we want to bike it.
You bet. Yeah, everybody's excited to get to that kind of the missing link
Yeah.
down on the Clear Creek Trail, so everyone's excited to
Everyone
get
wants
that
to
done.
go to Tiffin.
Yeah, yeah,
Consider this a good
apparently.
thing.
Any other questions for Dan? Thank you very much. Appreciate the update. Okay. Any other business from the board? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Terry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Took us longer to get here.
That's right.
It's a pretty